so quiet.
We'll fix that.
Too quiet for me.
I'd like to start out by asking, when did you know that you really wanted to entertain people? When did you know that it gave you such pleasure to sing and dance and make people laugh?
When I was born. That's how far back it goes. Because when I was 5 years old, I was already moving around and dancing and singing. And
you've always known what you wanted to do.
I always known that that's what I wanted to do, even though I got plenty of punishment for it, because in my country in those days, to perform, that was a no-no, you know. They don't consider you a decent person if you go into that business, you know. But I knew I wanted that, and I was going to have it no matter what. That when you want something, you have to go after it.
And you did, beautifully.
Anything I want, I go after it.
Tell us some stories about when you were your first performances before you became a professional, when you were performing in Puerto Rico. Tell us some stories.
I didn't perform in Puerto Rico.
Well, informally.
I mean, I went after, but I came to this country when I was about 11 years old.
But you were telling us some stories the other day about you performing when you were about 6 years old in Puerto Rico, when you were a little girl.
Oh, when I was a little girl?
Uh-huh. Tell us some stories about that.
Well, I was born in a town called Guayama. As you know, because you're from Puerto Rico yourself. What's Guayama? Tell the people what Guayama is.
Well, it's known for us, the town of the witches.
The witch
and
town,
witchcraft.
really. That's where all the witchcraft goes. I'm going to do some witchcraft right here, right now. And my father was a merchant, and he got very sick, and I was about 5 years old, and I used to perform for him, you know, sing and dance and all that, just to entertain him. And he finally passed away and left us. My mother had 5 kids and one in the belly. As a matter of fact, my brother was there. He was the one that was in the belly. Where is he was the one that was in the you know. And we had my mother and my father, they had a soldier who was a friend of the family. He married my mother and gave us, you know, I was 5 years old when my father died, so I didn't really remember. I remember my stepfather, who was a father for us, you know. And they transferred him to San Juan, which is the capital of Puerto Rico, and so we moved to the capital, you know. And we went to live in a house. In those days, the houses in Puerto Rico, the doors were way up to the ceiling, and they split in the middle, you know. And that was where the soldiers were stationed. And I used to go and sing for the soldiers and pass my hat and collect the pennies and all that, because I was always a businesswoman. I had to get paid. I was not going to sing and dance for nothing. But when I got home, my mother would take the pennies away and give me such a beating. Oh, very what a beating. But she would take the money, you know. And I kept doing all that. She used to take the clothes away from me and said, in the nude, I was 5, 6 years old. She said, she's not going to run away. I mean, she has no clothes on. She used to lock me up, used to close that door. I used to open the door, and I used to throw something in the sidewalk. And whenever somebody went by, I said, will you please pick that thing over there? And the people would look and said, widows, yes, over there, look. And they said, what? There's nothing in there. And I said, well, look, come and open the door and I'll show you where it is. The people would come up at the door. In the meantime, I had wrapped up around me a sheet from the bed. I grabbed it, and shoot, out I went again. And dance some more. Well, my mother could handle me, so she put me in an orphanage. You know, remember the orphanage in Puerto Rico? En la calle 15.
La Parada 15.
En la 15, la Parada 15. She put me in this orphanage, my older sister and I, since she had to support 5 kids, you know, and one in the belly. She's, you know, so she started cooking and sewing and all that. When I came out of the orphanage, I was about 10 years old. I was in the orphanage for the time I was about close to 7, And I did shows in the orphanage. That was another punishment. Oy vey. Oh, that's too gentile. Oy vey. Oy vey is what. I used to put my shows in the orphanage, and of course that was worse because that was an orphanage and it was run by spinsters, you know, all these oldies that they're nothing, you know what I mean? Nothing happens. What to go. And I used to do the shows. They used to punish me by locking me up where they put the food in the commissary with the no light, no nothing. I lit a candle way in the corner. You could see nothing. Bats all over the place. Oh, the thing they did to me, but that didn't stop me. That didn't stop me. I came out of the orphanage, and my mother used to cook for the people, you know, and I used to deliver. I was the delivery girl. I was about 10 years old. And we have a thing in Puerto Rico called la fiambrera, which is where you, what do you call them, pots that you put one on top of another? Man, I used to deliver this food. By the time I got to the houses where I'm supposed to bring the food, it was ice cold because I would be dreaming how I was going to go someplace, how I was going to dance and all that. I used to see the boats go by. You used to go to the pier, you see all these boats. And I used to say, where are those boats going? And somebody said, it's going to America, those boats. And I said, what's America? I didn't even know, what's America? Well, America, and then explained to me, and I said, well, someday I'm going to be on one of those boats, and I'm going to go to America, you know. And it did happen. We came by boat when we came from Puerto Rico. And it was funny because I used to get seasick, you know, the thing. But we were the first one. I said I wanted to be the first one to land in America. And we got to the boat, and I was the first one. I didn't sleep. I want to be the first. Otherwise, then they left me for last. And I said, but why? Well, my mother, I was 12. I had just been 12, but my mother put me as 11 so she could pay half fare. See? In my country in those days, you could give $2 and you get any what do you call it?
Birth certificate.
Birth certificate you can. My mother would get birth certificate for whatever you need. You need to go into the what do you call it? The orphanage. Yes. You needed to be a certain age to get there. My mother found a birth certificate for that age. Don't worry about it. And then if I needed to anywhere.
Now, you came to New York. What did you do when you first came to New York? What kind of things did you do to earn a living?
When I came to New York, we lived in Spanish Harlem, El Barrio. You know what El Barrio means, huh? I'm sure there's a lot of you there that don't know what El Barrio is, right? Any Puerto Ricans there? Hey, no Puerto Ricans. In the Bronx, there's plenty of Puerto Ricans, believe me. There are more Puerto Ricans in the Bronx today than we have in Puerto Rico. When I first moved to the Bronx, I think we were the only Gentile family there. You know, but of course, things have changed. We lived we came from Puerto Rico, we went to Spanish Harlem, and we lived in 110th Street, 113 and Fifth Avenue. We lived on the 5th floor, no elevator. We woke up, and on the first floor was La Guardia.
Yeah, Fiorello.
Fiorello La Guardia. He lived on the first floor, we lived on the he was a little short, stumpy kind of a guy. Yeah, Italiano.
What did you do for a living?
What do you mean?
How did you work?
What I do for a living?
How did you work?
I was a hooker. That's what I did for a living. Well, why you ask?
When you were like 12. Before you went into show business.
I'm supposed to behave. Everybody told me. No. My brother or my nephew's there, and they say I have to behave. That means I have to cross my legs and be very ladylike.
Now, before you went into show business, what did you do before you went into show business? Because I know there's an interesting story there.
I work in a Sunshine Biscuit Company and in a chocolate factory. Man, I ate more chocolate than I packed. And I wasn't even old enough to work, but again, I said, I got papers to prove that I was the age they wanted me to be. I had to be from 18 up, and I probably was 14 or something like that. And I worked in the factory, in the sunshine factory, and in the chocolate factory. Then I was an usherette for a while in a Spanish theater they opened in Spanish Harlem. And then when they opened the Spanish theater, they were auditioning people. And I went to the audition, and, they hired me. But, again, I said I wasn't old enough. Then I was about 13 or 14. And I remember, because in my country, I don't know if they're like that anymore, because I really left with, if you didn't want to go to school, you don't go to school. But here, you have to, and they send somebody to make sure that, And in those days, most of the chorus girls, they were all 12, 13, 14. And the day that woman come to check out, there was no chorus line. We were all hiding in the fire escape. Everybody hiding in the fire escape because we were supposed to be in school. We were not supposed to be, And the guy that did the choreography then, he was a dancer, a ballet dancer. He used to train us because none of us were professional dancers. And he used to train us. And I always had a big mouth, loud. I've always been loud. I can't help it. I am loud. I got good luck. And whenever everybody singing, my voice was always on, you could hear my voice on top of everybody. And this man kind of liked what I did. And he recommended to a woman that was putting on a show, a ballet dancer, Ledova. And she was looking for new talent, and she came to see me at the theater. At the time, I wasn't doing anything, important of any kind. I was singing with the chorus and all that. But the manager used to give me little lines, something. And she took me, and we did the RKO circuit. We went on the road.
What did your mother think of you going into show business?
My mother didn't know anything about it. My mother didn't know anything, and I made I bargained with the manager. I said, I will do the early show, but I can't do the late show because my mother thinks that I'm in the factory yet. Okay. And I did that for a few months until finally my mother found out that I was there. And she said, you have to leave the show. And the man said, don't worry about it. I'll take care of her. I'll have a woman watch her and all that. And she finally gave in. But, oh, man, the punishment that I used to get. They used to lock me up in a room. They used to feed me under the thing because to be in show business, forget it. That was a no-no, no matter what. Oh, for years. After a while, are you kidding? After a while, my mother accepted it. And when I used to work in New York at the Low Stage and all those places in New York, she would be in the audience. And she would say, she was sitting next to somebody that wasn't applauding, she would go, hey, hey, and in her English, she couldn't speak English. Hey, hey, blah, my daughter, my hija, you know what I say? She's my daughter, go ahead, applause. So, she used to make, she was a little bit loud like me. Or I was loud like her, I should say.
You recorded music very early in your career with Pedro Flores Quartet, and tell us a little bit about that experience.
Well, that was a contest that they had. They were looking for somebody to make this album. Again, I said because I had a big voice. Glitch, where are you? This man, you're responsible for this whole thing. Where in the world? He just gave me this album that I made. Oh, how long ago that was? I can't even remember how long ago. And I don't have that material. I don't have those songs. And I don't know where you dig that from. I don't know where he got it because he's got it. And I hear myself then. Believe me, I was pretty bad. I don't think I was that good. You were fine. I didn't think that was that good. I was loud, but I didn't think I was good. But I hear them now, and some of it, and that's how I made that album for Pedro. He was at the time a big composer of Puerto Rico, and they did an album of his songs, and I was the one that won the contest and did the album. But You know, when you come to this country, you're in a foreign country, let's say Spain, you come here, for some reason or other, you want to be very American. You forget that you belong over there, and you want to do everything in English, and you want to, don't have anything to... That's at the beginning. Of course, later on, you said, oh, well, okay, I saw it all. I did it all. I mean, and you go back to your, you know. But I used to love to go to Harlem. It's bad. Oh, boy. My mother found me one day. She dragged me by the hair. I thought I cleaned the whole place with my hair. Because, I tell you, because of my voice being so big, it's, you know, I used to sing blues. I never sang Spanish boleros or Spanish songs or something like that. Always, am I blue and some of this day, you know, all this blasting and all this kind of thing. That's exactly what I went to, you know, more so than, like you would say, Olga or what do you call yeah, Celia and all that. Well, Celia was something. She was more like the things from Cuba, you know, she did all the, no, there was nobody like her anyhow. She was one of its kind. That's why she lasted forever, because there was nobody that could even, you know, come close to her, you know.
How did you make the trek to the La Conga Club? How did you get there?
I was working in a joint, and this was a joint, believe me when I tell you. I was working in a joint in New York on 46th Street between 6th and 7th. Upstairs, about 2 floors up. And over there, you have to mix with the customers. And being that I was underage again, they give you drinks, not white like that though. They put color in it so that the customer may think that you're drinking whiskey, but it's not. They call it downs, you know what I mean? And I was working there when they opened La Conga, and they were giving auditions. And I went to auditions, and I got the job. And I was telling you about when I worked in this joint, about the gangster.
Tell us again. It's a great story.
Well, I didn't know gangsters. Ooh, I didn't know what were gangsters for that matter, you know. And I've always been a kind of a person that, to me, people are people. I mean, I don't know. I don't believe in that. You're better than me and I'm better than you. To me, the way I look at it. You may be better in manners or better in certain things, but as a person, you know. And I was doing my dance, and I always used to feature, not J-Lo, me. This is the original one. So I used to, and here I went to this table, it was a big table, and I went to this table, and I was doing like this, and I went like that, and this man went like that and slapped me in my behind. Man, I got so mad, I went, pow, and I gave it right back to him. The boss, Sam, a little Jewish man that owned the club, said, get away, go home, go home. I said, what did I do? He said, don't you know who you slapped? I said, no, man, that got fresh with me. He slapped me, so I slapped him. Man, the next day I saw front page. Pretty boy Floyd, what the heck was his name?
Pretty boy Floyd.
Pretty whoever, he was pretty, whatever I got him. Pretty boy something was supposed to be a gangster. I didn't even know what it was. And they kept me away from the place for a couple of months. I couldn't come back to the place, you know, because they were afraid that. But I never had problem with those people. I mean, they were always very nice. I'm Costello, and they had a Costello in one of them. So, I mean, believe me, we never had Poopy there, didn't he? I remember my Poopy. One time, he had a big band. He was, I should brag about it, but he was my ex-husband. Listen. There was a club in the Colonial Inn in Miami Beach. It was the most popular nightclub where all the big stars, all the headliners, the heavyweights, that's all they played. And I remember him showing up with his band, and he had a big band, about 12 pieces, 14 pairs. And he went in there with the whole orchestra rehearsing, and the boss said, what are you doing here? And Pupi says, we're opening tonight. And the boss said, you're opening tonight? What do you mean you're opening tonight? I don't have any records or anything that that you are supposed to open tonight? So Pupi said, well, I have a contract. I mean, no. He said, no, you're not. The guy said, no, you're not opening tonight. I'm sorry. It's a mistake somewhere. So, And Pupi called me right away. He said, what am I going to do? Look, I have all these people that you have to pay transportation, all the expenses and everything. So I called Costello. My cousin, I used to call him cousin. I called him. They had a joint in Jersey where all used to hang out. And I called him. And I said, look, I have a problem, blah, blah, blah. I explained what happened. They wouldn't let Pupi open. He said, call me in an hour. All right, I waited the hour. I called him back, and he said, Pupi opens tonight. That's all he said, Pupi opens tonight. And then, but those people were wonderful. Costello had a house on the beach. We used to go there every weekend. It was a party or something. They were nice people. I never had any problem with them. To me, they were real, down-to-earth people. What they did?
Tell us about how you met Desi Arnaz, or how he met you, like you say it.
How I met Desi? You mean how he met me, right? Is that what This was in Miami Beach. When I opened La Conga, this nightclub in New York, I had a previous engagement of 4 weeks. Martha Ray had a place in Miami Beach called the 500 Club that Martha Ray owned. And I had already a contract with her that I had signed way before I went into La Conga. So I had to go and do the 4 weeks. I left La Conga for a while, and I went to Miami Beach to do my 4 weeks for Martha. So Desi used to come around. I never knew the man. He used to come around with his guitar to see if he could get a job. So me, with my soft heart, I went to Martha, and I said, Martha, this guy is looking for a job. Do you think we could do, something? Martha said, no, because my budget is so much, and the show takes the money, and I can't do it. But if he wants to come around and play the guitar and for tips or something, it's okay with me. So he used to come after the show you would finish, let's say, around 2 o'clock in the morning. Desi, he didn't do it for the audience, but he did it for us. It's what they call a let out, And so I said, we did that for the 4 weeks. And I said, Desi, I have to go back to New York. If you come to New York, look me up to see if I could do something for you. He came to New York. After a while, months went by, and he came to New York. And he looked me up. I was at the La Conga. And I went to Mario, who was the Italian man who used to own La Conga. And I said, Mario, what do you think about this guy? Mario said, well, I don't know. But at the time, we had Carmen Caballero, who was a great concert pianist. He was the band. He had the band there. But he was going into the world of Astoria, and he was taking the key man. The key man, in case nobody knows what the key man, you take the piano player, the most important thing, with him to the world of Astoria, and he was leaving some of the musicians behind. And so I said, well, let's find the other musician, let's find on the piano something, build up the band for him. So Mario says, well, what does he do? And I said, well, he plays the guitar very bad. He doesn't sing so good. He doesn't play the conga so good either. But look at him, he's gorgeous. I mean, he's gorgeous. He's going to draw the women. What else? I mean, who cares what he does, as long as you look that good. You know what I mean? And so that's how Desi, they got him with the band, We were there for a while. He was, everything was working out good. The girls were giving him keys or something. He used to give me the keys, and all the broads that came in there, they would give the keys and notes, meet him in because he was really he looked good like a guy. Then that was when they were starting Too Many Girls. Yes. And we had a talk rehearsal. Talk rehearsal is when they go over the script and they discuss certain matters, before they do the final script. They go, they take things out, they put things out or something. And they have offered me the part because it was supposed to be about college and students and all that. So they had different races in Spanish and all kinds of things, and I was, had a part. George Abbott was the producer. I went to George and I said, George, how about Desi? to put, why am I putting Desi in the show? So George said, Diosa, the script is written. What do you mean put him in the show?